Excuses are tools of the incompetent, used to build monuments of nothingness. Those who specialize in them seldom amount to anything. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me again. It's a lot going on. Protesting George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Black Lives Matter, everything. And I just want to let you all know that, you know, we are in this together. We're not going through it alone. It's unfortunate that we still have to be going through this process of trying to make our voices heard, trying to make sure that our Black lives do matter, and having to even explain what that means and why that slogan exists today, but we do. And I just don't want you all to grow tired or to give up in the process. Keep doing what you're doing, and you know, just keep fighting for whatever it is that you feel like needs to come about or needs to be acknowledged right now. Everybody has a different purpose. Everybody has a different plan. Yours matters, somebody else's matters, and you know, it's all worth it. So one thing I do want to mention is I don't want to hear the excuses about why you feel like you shouldn't be supporting Black people if you are Black, and that irritates me a lot. So that's why we're going to talk about how to eliminate excuses in this YouTube video, because of what's been happening and because of the conversations that I have been hearing from some white people and Black people who feel like, well, I'm not going to say anything because it doesn't affect me or it hasn't affected me. And I just kind of feel like that's a part of the whole the psychology behind humans in general just making excuses to get out of things because they're afraid. What we are going to do today is eliminate our excuses. Okay, so you ever met someone who used excuses to pretty much get out of everything? Like it became a part of their personality. Like every time you asked them to do something, it was just some excuse that came with it. Like, no, well, I'm not doing it because I didn't take the class, or I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. That used to be me. Not the person who made excuses all the time, but at one point in my life, I started making excuses for myself so that I could feel comfortable with not completing tasks. And I would use my excuses and I would equate them even with my religion, like, oh, well, if God wanted me to have it, then I would have had it. And so I must didn't get it because he didn't want me to have it. And it's just like, no, you didn't get it because you didn't work hard to do it. You get what I'm saying? And that's an excuse. But sometimes we try to cover up our excuses. We try to cover up what we haven't done by placing an excuse over the things that we need to accomplish. So I wanted to pretty much just talk about, like, when was the last time that you really asked yourself, why is it that I am in this position that I am in? Why is it a year later that I still haven't completed a task that I said I was going to do in 2 weeks? Or just in general, why do you create the excuses that you have? And do you feel like some of them can be eliminated? And if so, I have a solution. So number one, okay, slideshow. So you can either accept where you are in life, which is pretty much also an excuse to not do better, pretty much being complacent, or you can eliminate your excuses by identifying where you make excuses and why you created them to begin with. So that's taking responsibility to address where you are now. How I would do that and how I have done that is, when I say identifying my excuses or identifying an excuse, I had a friend who told me that I inspired them to do better. So at a point in my life where I decided that I wanted to stay in a certain place or didn't necessarily want to evolve because I thought I was less than, my friend just pretty much had to tell me, like, you were the person who inspired me to do better. And I know sometimes we have those friends and those family members who say, hey, like, you gonna work on that project, or are you gonna complete that? Or, you know, you were the strong friend, or you were, you're the mom who work 3 jobs and were able to take care of your children. So you mean to tell me that you can't complete school? Things like that. And I had those conversations with a friend, and it was easy for me to be offended, but I wasn't. It's kind of like that Drake song when he says, I had someone tell me I fell off. Ooh, I needed that. And they want to see me pick back up. But where I leave it at. For those of you who don't know the song, you just have to look up the lyrics. But he pretty much was just saying, like, somebody told him that he fell off and he needed it to pick it back up. And sometimes for those of us who don't have friends like that, I'm pretty sure at one point in your life you had a conversation with somebody who was like, oh, you ain't do that yet. Or, you still working on that. That's a hint to, like, baby, like, why do you keep making these excuses? What is it that you're lacking? Is it confidence? Is it fear of being successful? Is it fear of not being successful? And when you start looking into those conversations and to reasons why you haven't necessarily succeeded in an area, you start to pinpoint your excuses. I'm one of those fear of success people, where at least I used to be one of those fear of success people, as far as, like, I didn't want a certain amount of attention to be on me because I already felt like I was so blessed in a certain area that I didn't want God to bless me anymore, because I don't know, that's a whole nother conversation. It's deep to explain, but literally there is a fear of being successful. There's not only fear of being non-successful or just failure. Like, there are people who have potential and feel like, I don't even want to reach success because I don't know how much that's going to make me come out of my comfort zone. And then there are other people, many more people, who feel like they don't even want to come out of their comfort zone because they don't want to be let down. All of those, you guys, are excuses. They're not a good place to be in. And I don't think that if you don't call them out, then you'll stay in that place. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you don't say, hey, this is the level where I want to go, this is where I'm trying to go, I'm no longer going to tell myself that I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty enough. What I'm going to start doing is telling myself, despite what I think I look like, or despite what I think my resume looks like, I can accomplish that goal and I can get to where it is that I need to go. Okay, so the second thing I would say for people who are religious or try to use excuses and blaming, like, their family member or God and stuff like that, cut it. I'm telling you, that's probably, after the number one was identifying your excuses, the number 2 on my list is stop blaming other people for your excuses. I highly doubt that God, your God, my God, Jesus Christ, exists to allow us to be on earth for anybody to feel incompetent or for anyone to feel less than. So all of that is pretty much in our head. Anything that we are supposed to have in life, or that we aspire to have, or that we dream of, I don't think that God doesn't want to give it to us, especially if it's not harmful, or if it's something that's going to lead, it's going to highlight his blessings on our life. You get what I'm saying? Like, if he blesses me a certain way and people can see it, and then I tell my story about how God blessed me, or how I didn't get it on my own, that brings him glory. So for you to be in a shadow or in a box and feel like God wants me to be here because if he didn't, he would pull me out, I feel like it's a very selfish thing to say, and is not the best way to speak on the God that you serve. So religion should not be an excuse to you being stagnant in life or not being able to excel in certain goals. Pray hard, do all that type of stuff, but at the same time, you have to put work behind what it is that you're trying to accomplish. You have to put work behind your goals and your dreams, and apply for that job, or work hard for that business, and go after for that loan. Get your credit right so you can get a loan from a bank, or bank with the right credit union. You know, you have to take those steps. You have to read. I was listening to this podcast with TD Jakes, and he was just saying, like, one of the main things that he feels like black people don't do, which limits us from success, is we do not read books. We want to start a business and we want to start it from scratch, but we never even asked anybody who has a business what was the process to get there. We've never even picked up the manual and figured it out. It's books like 101, building a business, 10 ways to build a business in 10 days, you know, things like that. And we just overlooking it. No, I do this, and then we do it, and then we fail because we miss those steps, those guidelines that people have placed for us, especially those who come from families just like me, where nobody owned their own business, you know. So it's just like, of course I don't have a clue, but thank God for social media, thank God for books, and thank God for people who are surrounded by me. I can use those resources to find out what it is like to build a business, or to find out how can I do it myself. And I think, you know, just kind of using it as an excuse, like, oh, I don't have family, I'm sorry, or I don't have friends, and I don't have help. I hear you when it comes to those situations, because sometimes we do feel alone, and we feel like nobody else is going through what we are going through, or went through what we went through. But I'm pretty sure that there's somebody, it got to be one person out there that we can lean on, that we can count on. So then that way we can eliminate the whole process of not having friends and not having family, and not having the resources. There has to be at least one book that you could pick up to help you get to your next goal. You know, there has to be at least one pastor, one mother, one father, one sister, cousin. And I'm saying mother, father, sister, cousin, not blood. I'm saying, you know, my brother in Christ, or, you know, that's my sister, you know, my best friend, a neighbor, someone. You know, we can't feel as if everyone is against us because everyone doesn't agree with us, or that people don't believe in our vision. You just got to keep trying. You got to reach out to the next person. Okay, so not using religion as an excuse, not using family and friends as an excuse. And what I wrote down is you have to identify where your excuse is, and stop blaming your parents, your friends, children. You know, now that I have a child, I can't do anything. Right. So if you feel that way, are you going to have more children, or are you going to, you know, do you feel like maybe I should stop here and maybe focus on my goals? Life gives us so many choices, and we ultimately make all of those choices. You know, it's what we shouldn't do is try to use the past and our trauma, things that we have gone through, to stop us from moving forward into our future. You know, so releasing all that past and negative energy and just trying to move forward in the future is ultimately gonna release those negative toxic traits, and allow you, in my opinion, to grow. Okay, so while we're having the conversation about moving forward and not relying on past trauma to pretty much be our excuses for why we don't succeed, my third way to eliminate excuses would be to don't be discouraged by your failures. Our behavior too often holds us back because we think that we are being judged by our failures, and we get discouraged by them. You ever wonder, like, sometimes you feel as if you are the only one who has failed in that subject, or you're the spotlight of failure because you didn't complete a task one time, or maybe you know, your boss checked you about a certain situation, and then you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a complete failure. I'm probably the first one in the company to ever make a mistake. And it's just like, no, you're not. So many people, y'all, for real, all these people on earth, and you think that you just the only one out here failing. It don't even make sense. Like, you know, like when you really think about it, it just don't even make sense. Everybody is constantly growing, learning, trying to do better, trying to find ways that work for them, trying to be the best person that they could be. And we also have that responsibility to do those things for ourselves. The only reason why you don't know who else is failing or who else is not necessarily just smooth sailing through life is because people usually don't publicly promote their failures. What we see on social media and what we see on Instagram is the good life, what people are living. We see the beauty on the outside, but we don't know what the heck they just went through to even get there. We don't know what they're going through internally, externally, how many times they had to fall to get back up, because a lot of times people do not broadcast it. Thank God for those who do. And, we are able to listen to those stories and kind of learn from those stories. But don't be out here feeling like your failures are new. And like, okay, God, so I just kind of messed up today. Do I still have a second chance? And it's just like, you're good, sis. We've been, you're not the only one. Nancy did the same thing last week. Just do better. And I just kind of feel like a lot of times, and the reason why I feel like this is because I need to stop saying that, but I used to be a victim of my failures. Anytime I did something that I felt like I had to be checked about, or it didn't come out the way I wanted it to be, I would just shut down like, dang, think about it all night, can't sleep, what can I do better? And that a little bit kind of means that you are a perfectionist. So, it could be a good thing, but at the same time, it can be heavy on you because you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to, in our mind, probably, if you're struggling with the process of just getting rid of excuses or trying to be better, right now you probably don't feel like you're enough. So once you understand that you are enough, what you do is enough, how far you've come is enough, then you will grow from that point on and take those necessary steps to your pathway to success or a better life or a healthier life or a happier life, whatever it may be for you. And when I say success, that definition is defined differently for every single person. It could be a big house or it could be a car. It could just be a great relationship. Not being able to live comfortably. The definition of success will vary for each individual. But sometimes we all know that when you do fail, you feel like you're the first idiot on earth. And so let's just go ahead and cut that right there. You're not the first idiot on earth. And I don't think that you're an idiot at all. But that's how we think, So no, I ain't saying that that's y'all. I'm just saying that's how we think. We do think like that. Let's just be honest. This is when we are being honest with ourselves, like for real. Like Javonni, remember the last time you made that excuse and you beat yourself up for 2 weeks? You want to make sure that doesn't happen again. And the next time when you do try something, you understand that it may not go the way you expect it to go. But guess what? Tomorrow's still going to come and you have another chance. You have another opportunity. You have more days. You have more time. I like to tell myself that right now I'm fighting for Javonni when she's 75 and 80 and won't be able to do these things anymore. Right now when I have moving muscles and bones and my fingers work and my ears and I can see, and I can actually speak, now is the time where I actually have to put more emphasis in the things that I know that I can do so that I can excel at that. Let me start over. So now is the time where I'm using all of that stuff that I am still able to use, that's functioning, that's working, my heart, my lungs, my body, my hands, my feet, my brain, and I'm using that to just move forward and to just try to reach my goals. And so I'm just telling you, while you have all these things, don't let your failure stop you. What will stop you is when you for real deal can't continue because your heart has failed you or your lungs have collapsed. But for all of us who are still breathing and our hearts are still beating, let's just try our best to do what we can do the best way that we can. So y'all know, just in general, like, I'm not beating anybody up. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that this is something that we are just going to accomplish in one day. I'm saying, like, literally, it's a everyday process that I'm even working through myself. So what we can do is, how about this? Next week or this week, anytime we find ourselves making an excuse, grab it, take hold of it, and get rid of it. Unless it's health related, of course. You know, we're not trying to put anybody in the hospital or anything like that. But I'm saying, if we find ourselves making an excuse, you know, I'm tired, or I don't have the resources, call me. Call me. It's completely, I'm okay with that. And we can do it together. You know, I have my 2-year-old son here. We're working on just a lot right now, and I can find so many excuses to just throw him a tablet and allow him to do whatever he wants to do. But sometimes I have to really have patience and say, no, well, this is the right thing to do, or this isn't the right thing to do. And like now, you know, I can find an excuse to say I'm not going to do my video, but I'm doing it and I'm making it work. So, you know, we all just out here just trying to make things work. And we're going to make this work, and we're going to make sure that we don't have excuses in the way to do that. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. The link is below, and I will see you all next time.